Hey Simpsons Index fans, before we get into the episode, we just want to tell you about our new project, Pulp Fury Radio, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, Pulp Fury Radio. It's our new anthology podcast series where we take the aesthetics of old radio and pair them with modern stories across a range of genres like sci-fi, horror, fantasy, mystery, and noir.
Our first episode is out now, the alien sci-fi invasion horror story called It Came from the Bottom of the Ocean, but also from space.
Go subscribe to Pulp Fury Radio on your podcast app and check us out on socials at Pulp Fury Radio.
All right, now let's do the Simpsons Index.
Woo!
The Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 177. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me in SideQuest Studios, here as always, except when he's not BT Calloway.
Hoi hoi.
And joining us all the way from London,
Yes.
in the United Kingdom, is Lydia Poulteney.
Hello, everyone.
And thank you for joining us on The Simpsons Index. This is a podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there's a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. And now, Lydia, people might be familiar with your work over at the YouTube channel The Simpsons Theory.
Yeah, very, very up and coming. Been around for about 2 months now. And we're still relatively new, but has reached a fair few people and has developed an amazing audience.
Wow.
I post fun, colourful videos on fan theories, debunking conspiracy theories, whilst developing explorations on behind-the-scenes developments that have affected the show we know and love.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's great. And I really love the tone of your videos. It's all very, deep dive into fandom and, really asking the hard questions, but also really being lighthearted and tongue-in-cheek about it as well. And, you're relatively new in the game as well.
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah, what got you started in this weird year?
Oh, I know. Well, I'm an air hostess normally. And
right.
yeah, I was flying through the skies and I was brought back down to earth with COVID and got put on furlough for a good 3 months. And I was like, God, I should be productive. Everyone's renovating their houses. And all I was doing was sitting up in my 1-bedroom flat. And I was like, you know what, I'll download Disney Plus and I'll binge watch something. It's going to be The Simpsons. And then, yeah, I've always wanted to do something creative. I did a creative degree and I was like, yeah, I want to do something which is have a project and put your all into it.
Oh, absolutely. And, you've really found yourself a nice little niche in, all the Simpsons entertainment that's out there, And yeah, welcome to this weird little community we've built.
I love it. It's so friendly.
Yeah. And no, we're glad to have you on today. And yeah, you've selected a great classic era episode for us to review. But first, we must talk about some newer episodes. And the first one we watched today was from the HD era, even though it was not in HD. This was Season 20, Episode 9, Lisa the Drama Queen. And yeah, this does have the honor of being the last ever episode of The Simpsons to air in 4.3. Yeah.
What a dubious honor.
Introducing the new ranking just for this episode, dubious. Anyway, this was first released in January of 2009. It was directed by Matthew Nastak, written by Brian Kelly. In this episode, Lisa makes a new friend, Juliet, who they make an incredible fantasy novel together about the land of Aqualia, and Juliet gets way too deep into the fantasy. Yeah, what'd we think?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think it was inspired by Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures, and I like that reference, but I don't think it kind of homed in enough on how insane Juliet was supposed to be. They kept being like, oh, she's nuts, oh, she's crazy, but all I saw was her hanging out in a tree and throwing a lunchbox at Lisa. It wasn't she didn't go too
Which got a good laugh. I actually got a chuckle out of that moment.
Yeah. No, they really did pile on her, and it felt very mean-spirited.
Yes, to quote the Simpsons themselves, I'm ever so pissed. But before we dig into that fully, Elliot, I'm going to have to just speak through you for a second and say, what's your Simpsons history? Where did the show begin for you?
Oh, yeah. I forgot to ask that.
It's all right. That's why I co-host, buddy. Got you back.
Yeah, anyway, as BT asked, I forgot to ask at the top of the show, what is your Simpsons history?
Yeah, my Simpsons history, I started watching it when I was really young with my brother and my sister. We used to finish school, come back, and would wait a long time I think The Simpsons aired at 6 o'clock, and that seemed like really late for us. and it was played after a really horrible quiz show called The Weakest Link with Anne Robinson.
Yeah.
And we were like, God, we gotta get through this to get to The Simpsons. And it played, and I think back then you kind of really relate to Bart and Lisa, but I think watching it now you kind of resonate. I resonate with Marge a bit more. But yeah, and it's just kind of spanned ever since. Like, I haven't watched fully. I think I've watched up to season 12 kind of in like a really consistent way, but anything after that is always in drips and drabs a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty common.
They don't make it easy for you to do that. So have you revisited and like watched a bunch of the new ones now that you started the channel and done all that? Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Like with the Guillermo del Toro introduction, we watched that episode. I quite like that because it seems like a new, different art direction for The Simpsons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't quite have the same classic story, which I guess is really common. So,
well, that's all through this episode. Segue. Because, there's lots of these lovely animation moments of Juliet's fantasy, but it all feels a bit hollow.
The biggest criticism I'm going to have on this, and well, to varying degrees of rage, is going to be what Lydia was just saying, that what this character is meant to be and what they're meant to be all about keeps shifting depending on what, like, she even has a bit right towards the end where they're trying to escape to Aqualia, and Lisa's like, it's not real. She's like, I know, but it's better than this.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, fair. And then later on, Lisa's like, but it's, you'll just keep escaping there, and it's not real. It's like, she knows. She literally just said she knows, and it also got you out of trouble.
Yeah.
Where is this conflict just created out of nothing? It's, I'm ever so pissed.
And it's like they manipulate their world to suit Kearney. It's like all of a sudden Kearney turns into a massive dragon and that's invested into the story. Yeah.
That may have been my favorite part of the episode. And I even liked the fantasy pullback and reveal that he was actually getting beaten up when he thought he was.
I kind of like that. In the fantasy, he's a dragon beating up, the other two bullies, but then it cuts to reality and he's getting wailed on, but he's happy. And it's like, isn't that kind of the point? That the fiction is where you can be happy even if life sucks.
And I'm going to say
the point of fiction.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, for better or worse, that is a good thing that stood out to me. What about you, Lydia? What, for better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
Well, I think, like you said, the beautiful animation, especially when they're kind of cycling towards Camelot, I thought that was beautiful, the way it kind of correlates along the way that they're moving. And I think the one bit I found quite funny was the whole Silence of the Lambs kind of segment where you thought it was going to be the Simpsons turning up to the door, but it was actually the bullies. Yeah. And I thought that was all right. I thought that was quite clever.
Yeah, the end of this episode was a lot better for me than the first.
Yeah. For me, it was a slow decline where I was having a pretty good time to begin with. And then just any part I thought was good was not hanging on or built on a solid foundation. There was, the part where the family goes to save Lisa is like, but why is she even in trouble? And then the bully show, okay, fine. It's just, I don't know. I have issues that are going to require dismantling.
And is that what stands out to you for better or worse?
I don't know. What I'm going to say is what stands out for me for better or worse is going to be in the positive. So at the beginning, they're all at the rec center and Lisa becomes friends with this girl because they both don't like the art teacher. And then, the teacher just sends them out and she's like, turns around to the rest of the class and says, oh, the rest of you, why don't you draw me 20 laps? And they'll start drawing circles.
Yes.
I really like it. And even the follow-up bit of when, Shirley's over the fat kid's like, hurry, keep up, fatty. Unnecessary, but I still got a joke out of it.
Oh, I thought that was, again, like the piling on of, that was a bit mean.
But she's meant to be a bit mean. That's a character that's supposed to be mean instead of the show being mean to a character.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, the joke was paint me 20 laps. That, was ridiculous and funny.
I mean, I think we both got told to keep up, fatty, in our days.
Yeah,
so,
true.
I felt that, but in a, it's like a relatable way.
Play count. Have you seen this episode before, Lydia?
No, I haven't. No.
And Beej, you went back and forth trying to figure out if you'd seen it before.
I thought this is the one where Lisa makes a friend and then gets weirded out because she's a Republican. But I was wrong. It's not that one.
Yeah, we haven't done that one yet.
I know. That's why I thought it was this one.
Episodes like that one and when Sideshow Bob becomes the mayor and talking about right-wing politics are making me uncomfortable at the moment for some reason.
Who knows why.
But yeah, I've seen this one a few times. Like, it's a shame because, you're talking before, Lydia, about, becoming more of a Marge person later on. Like, I found myself really adoring the Lisa episodes, and when one sort of falls flat like this, it hurts me a little bit more.
And so I was watching it, I'm like, it's going to be a Lisa gets a friend episode. I'm like, what? They've done this before, but they've not done it so many times that it's worn out completely. Not like, Homer gets a new job.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, yeah, cool. What do you got, episode? Oh.
Yeah, they've all got different personalities as well, because when she kind of befriends the hippies, that's a whole turning point where like Lisa really appreciates that she is who she is and she can't really deny that, but people still love her for it. And then there was another one. Was it Winona Ryder, the redhead?
Yeah, Allison, yeah.
That's it. And they kind of like unite because they're both intelligent girls. And yeah, this one, it was friendship for a different reason, but I don't think it really played into Lisa's personality.
No, I mean, almost with the whole love of literature and stuff, but...
Well, I mean, there was a difference because, Lisa's rival, Allison was meant to be better than her when we had whatever Lisa Kudrow's character was, I can't remember. Another A name, I can't
Alex.
remember. Alex, yeah. That was because she was more popular. But this one, they're kind of very much on equal footing. I mean, some kind of equality, I don't know, something about...
Oh, right. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons? How were the cartoony elements?
Groundskeeper Willie is deaf now because he's crammed 2 pieces of like a rake into his ears.
Yep.
And we've also found out he's a doctor, or he was a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was one of like 5 weirdly padding extended moments throughout this episode where we see Willie in Ellis Island and everything's kind of sepia toned. You're like, how old is he supposed to be?
400.
Yes, but yikes.
Did you have any cartoony moments that stood out to you?
Well, there was a bit where they just kept mentioning an iPod, and like the iPod just kind of appeared in that imaginary montage like a Stanley Kubrick film, and I was just expecting some monkeys to crawl out and praise it.
All glory to the MyPod.
With Josh Groban playing in the background, and yeah, that was quite amazing.
Yeah.
Josh Groban.
I got to be a bit of old man Calloway and be, who's this Josh Groban? Does he play the music?
Oh my God, really?
I don't know who this is. I don't know people, man.
It's funny because like this episode's a decade old, so yeah.
Yeah.
Decade behind.
Are you familiar with Josh Groban at all? Or?
Not really. I think he's mentioned a bit on Glee, but like the few episodes I watched, no, not really.
No, I mean I only have a passing awareness of him. He's in that league of like Michael Bublé. It's just
It's pronounced Blubble.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, threw me there.
I like incorrectly correcting people.
Where, it's that particular brand of inoffensive mum Kmart CD.
Mom rock, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very smooth.
And smooth he is. Actually, he did a bit of acting. He played Andy's brother in the US Office.
Oh, I had no idea.
It was in, like, post-Corral season.
Yeah, that's going to be late, deep season when people, made us try and care about Andy.
But, yeah, it was a funny angle, though, to have Andy, who's always obsessed with a cappella singing, get upstaged by his awesome brother that his dad loves.
Vaguely familiar.
Yeah. So, yeah, Josh Groban.
Now, this was the first of, 5 really padded moments of, Lisa and Juliet singing Josh Groban. And, again, it haven't had enough time for me to write down, who is Josh Groban? Okay, you can stop singing now. You can stop now. That's how long it was. I had that much padding to it that I could get through all that.
And who had any idea Lisa was a Grobanite?
A Grobanite. They have a word for themselves. Yeah, this is their juggalos for Grobanos.
Grobanos sounds like a really off-market brand cereal.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
No.
I liked Grobanhose. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, this is another problem we run into with The Simpsons where Lisa and Juliet are singing Groban, which is ballads, which takes forever, and their harmonies aren't that great.
Stop making Yardley Smith sing. It's hard to sing in that Lisa voice. Stop it.
But speaking of lovely singing voices, who picked up on who was playing Juliet in this episode?
Oh, I'm going to take that one. Emily Blunt.
It was Emily Blunt.
Yeah, I like Emily Blunt. Why did they do this to her?
I thought she did a good job in this episode, though.
But I mean the episode. Why did the episode do this to her?
Yeah.
She was a bit nasally, wasn't she? I think that she was like the American kind of British accent where it's all really too much.
Just turned up a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other notes about her performance here? Or?
No.
No.
Like, it was good, and I think, obviously they told her to play up the more, wacky aspects of the accent, and that makes sense. That's what you do in a cartoon. That's meant to push the whole idea that, oh, look how different she is and well-educated.
Definitely. Yeah, and Lisa was like, you can read the audiobook, so yeah, it played into that really well.
Oh, and speaking of her well-to-do family as well, her dad is a John Grisham scholar.
What the fuck? It's like, this is like a dumb person's idea of what smart people are like. It's John Grisham. It's pretty good, but it's not amazing.
Are you a Grishamite or a Grishamo?
Oh, see, I'm going to have to be like please explain who John Grisham is.
So you're like me and Josh Groban.
Yeah, it's the opposite way.
Yeah, this is like some dude being really proud that he's like a scholar in airport novels.
Yeah, again, admittedly pretty good airport novels. I've never read one, but I know he's a well-respected, author and stuff. So yeah, a lot of like law firms and, tense legal thrillers and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, made a bunch of movies of them in the late 90s or mid-90s, I'm not too sure. Pelican Brief, stuff like that. The Firm, The Rainmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely earned a place for himself, and, he's no Stephen King, but at least he's no Matt Riley. You might not get that reference. He's a terrible Australian author.
But hey, he's made money off of it, so props, I guess.
I think he has a like really douchey car, and his number plate is like I write or something.
Oh, that is awful.
It's
well,
really
now I hate him again.
Anyway, how about the heart of this episode? Did we feel the bumps?
Fucking no! And this is why I should have felt it.
What do you think?
So pissed.
It was weird because it was kind of like Lisa was treating Juliet as though she was it was a date more than an actual friendship. And then Marge, it was a bit weird. And then Apu kind of like chimes in and he's like, oh no, you should get this chocolate bar because you can accidentally share it. I did feel I'm always going to like resonate with Marge, but I felt a bit bad for Marge because I felt like she was losing her friend a bit, and it was kind of like the whole trying to get her back, and that was kind of what I got.
I think they almost built up the Marge side of the story well, where they did show her, Lisa, like being, snippy and this is our thing.
Yes.
And I found that a bit better because, Lisa is still a kid in this moment, and like you were saying, the making this relationship humor is sort of a bit off-putting, but those were the sort of moments where I was liking this story. Yeah,
true. Yeah, it's kind of like when they're both like in the sleeping bags laying on the floor and they're just like having that secretive girly moment where it's kind of like that touching moment where Lisa probably finds, oh wow, this person really gets me, and when they asked to be best friends, that was quite sweet. And then Marge is obviously at the door being like, yes.
Oh, definitely. Like, especially, for Marge having to see Lisa go through so many first-time best friends, as we were mentioning before.
Yeah, she's got an in-depth history, doesn't she? Poor Lisa.
But what do you reckon? Did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Were the characters behaving like themselves? I
would say so. Like, I feel like in The Simpsons, there's kind of two different moments where it's either one episode where it's a cohesive story because obviously they feel like they've found a really meaty story, or there's one where it kind of like splits off into two. But I felt like this was a really good one where all the family kind of contribute to the story and they all kind of like play their bit. Like Bart is obviously a bit mocking. Marge is like, oh, you've got a letter from New York, that's all that matters. And Homer's just kind of sitting there a bit bewildered like, well, I'm going to make my own novel by the end. And yeah, they all kind of get involved, which I think I like those episodes because it doesn't feel like it's fragmented. It's all towards a purpose.
Yeah, I agree. And the weird moment of the parents being involved, especially with Lisa activity, is like Homer and Marge being ultra aware of her activities with the Model UN. Yeah.
It's like them all sitting around being like, oh, what's Lisa up to now? Oh, Martin Prince on the phone.
And yeah, I don't know if that exactly feels like an episode, like the Simpsons character with their history, but it's such a peculiar joke that I found myself liking that one.
Again, this felt like an episode of The Simpsons that someone was really excited about for 10 minutes and then quit. And they just were like, oh, what do we do with this? I don't know, just fill in some blanks and let's go home. Like, there's so much filler, it kind of proves how little fucks were given, and that really pisses me off. That's why I'm so annoyed with this one, is they had something there and you could construct something out of it, and it may not have been a great something, but it would have been a complete something. Instead, they're just like, oh, and then Lisa doesn't like her anymore because she's crazy, because she's too imaginative, and the end.
Yeah.
You're like, no, that's stupid.
Because she randomly sends the novel at the end, and within the last minute, Homer's kind of like, "Oh, writing's hard," and that kind of just sums up the way it kind of declined. Yeah.
Definitely. But, as a reset to 0, that wasn't bad either. But
Well, I appreciate a reset to 0, but have this girl actually, her flights of fantasy are at first really fun, but after a while, Lisa's like, no, you need to be in reality because you're leaving too much. You're leaning on this as a crutch rather than an enjoyment. That's the thing. That's the direction they were going until they just didn't anymore. And they were just like, oh, no, she knows it's fake, but, oh, she's crazy. It's like, but they can't be the same thing. You're having, opposing ideas and just really annoying. Really, really annoying.
So, yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Can I physically harm media? I'd watch it again if I was allowed some kind of, sledgehammer that let me hit things. And I could just knock it over and break it.
We'll talk to our friends at the carnival to see if they've got one of those tests of strength things for you to watch the episode on. But what do you reckon, Lydia?
I'm not sure. I would watch it again just to see the animation again. I thought that was really nice, but ultimately it's one of those episodes where you look at it and you're like, yeah, I know exactly what that's going to be about, and I don't really feel like I'm going to get a huge amount more from it. No,
I agree, and there's so many jokes that you do see coming from miles and miles away that, are just really grating when they're just playing out to its obvious extent, and I'm not remembering which one. Homer with the paying $10 to the doctor dad. I'm not that kind of doctor. It's just it's gonna go on forever, and it was just a bad version of the gummy bear or boil joke.
Yep.
Boil or pimple, it was a gummy bear. Anyway, so Lydia, we'll start with you. What would you like to change about this episode?
I would like to insert some more moments where Juliet does really kind of convince Lisa that this world does exist. I think it kind of skips over. I don't know. I guess it's a lot to fit in within 25 minutes, but I think I would like a bit more involvement with that and how Lisa's actually become more and more obsessed with this girl. I think it's quite hard to assume that she would go to the ends of the earth with Juliet, and I would like more focus on that.
How about you, BT? Anything else to add?
Yeah, focus on that core idea. And also, what will really confuse me is when Marge is all like, oh, you have to stop seeing this girl. I was like, why? Okay, her grades are slipping. She's 8, and she's finally got a friend. Let them slip for a semester, that kind of thing. Or maybe, have Marge clue in that maybe this girl's taking the fantasy a little too seriously, and that's your first lead, that's your first clue that not everything is right. And just stick to that idea because it's a fine idea and it just doesn't exist in this. And in the end, they act like that was the whole point all along, that, oh no, she's actually a little unhinged because her family life is so sterile and boring that she has to escape to fantasy. That would be fine. And it's there. That's what bugs me. All this stuff is there and they're just not picking it up.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think, if we're in an episode called Lisa the Drama Queen, there is not a lot of drama going on here.
Yeah, one of my last notes is, would you just look at this lack of conflict?
And I think it's an easy fix, that in them playing out their fantasy, maybe they're putting themselves in danger. I can't imagine the Clamalot is safe. The rundown Clamalot. So maybe if they'd set that up earlier and they were going there and Marge found out and was worried because, it's a dodgy former clam restaurant.
Yeah, Lisa falls into some kind of rusty clam bucket. I don't know. Don't pay me if you want good ideas. And then, Juliet's all like, oh no, you've been trapped by the gnomes. And it's like, no, I need actual help. Help me. And she's like, that kind of thing.
I cut my foot on a clamshell. It fucking hurts.
Yeah, I'm bleeding. We need to get out of here. Oh, you've been attacked by the Minotaur. Fuck. Again, it's right there. Just pick up the ideas you already had.
And the final guest stars for this episode, we had Fall Out Boy playing us out of the episode. The reference came full circle. Yeah, what do we think of their version of the popular theme song to popular animated show The Simpsons?
It's all right. It doesn't beat Green Day, though. I love a bit of Green Day. But I don't know. I guess it doesn't need meaning, but...
Yeah.
It just came out blue a bit, didn't it?
It's not bad. It's just too little too late.
And I'm glad you said Green Day because, when Fall Out Boy and Green Day are kind of similar-ish styles, and when you're taking the vocals out of the performance, which would really make the two bands distinct, as well as, their bass player actually being able to play fucking Pete Wentz cannot. Anyway, but I think Fall Out Boy's strength lie in their pop songwriting, and this felt more pop punky and therefore wasn't distinct from the very notable Green Day version from the movie. So yeah, it's one of these things where I'm like, why does this exist? Anyway, end rant. All right, we're almost at the rankings. Lydia, do you have any other notes about this episode?
I don't think I do, no.
Oh, very efficient then. How about you, BT? Do you have any other notes?
Oh my, yes. So I did like at the beginning when they're at the rec center and, comic book guys teaching karate. He's like, well, for those of you who didn't bring permission slips, you just bought very expensive pajamas. And then Lisa's arts and crafts class just has crafts crossed out. It's like, no crafts.
Lots of cutbacks at the rec center. I actually enjoyed the sign gag joke that opened the episode. What was it? It's like a good place to be dropped off at.
Yeah, pretty much. Just rec center. It's this thing. I do like Homer's thing. He's like, now when we get there, remember they're fancy, so we need to say a lot of big words. So I've got computer. Bart, you can have doorbell.
Yeah.
Like, that was a good back and forth. I quite enjoyed that.
But then it went way on too long with Homer, smacking Bart as well.
Another bit that just went on for too long was the guy just reading The Firm by John Grisham. It's like, okay, I got it already. Thank you.
I didn't mind the joke, though, of him putting on the soundtrack and he's like, ooh, researching the brief.
If that had led to something like the idea that this girl is so surrounded by this dry adult literature and thinking all the time, that's why she wants to escape into fantasy, that would have been fine. Didn't do it. Again, they had the pieces. I wrote down Tunicorn for the win, so let's see some more Tunicorns out there. That extended folk art bit to the Wipeout soundtrack for some reason.
What?
I think both you and I were like, are we sharing like a shared hallucination?
Yeah.
Like, it was just
so odd.
Such an odd, because like someone just thought the line, folk art, was like really funny, and then they just ran from there. There's a bit where, again, so they're at the clam wherever and restaurant, and they do the fake out with the Simpsons shadows coming towards the door, and Lisa's like, oh good, my family's here. It's like, why are you excited? You ran away and nothing has gone wrong yet. And again, it's that problem of Juliet is a fine character at this point. There's nothing wrong with her, so why are you upset to be there? And I believe, and one rejection letter from one publisher and you give up. Boo-hoo. And yeah, that is all my notes.
And my final notes, this is in the playlist of Wiggum's gun horror.
Yeah.
Like, because, as well as Willie shoving rake spears into his ear, Wiggum had guns in his ear. Goddamn Wiggum. Gun safety, dude.
Yep.
Fucking hell.
Yep.
Disarm cops, for fuck's sake. I like the character's name, Queen Helvetica.
Yeah.
That was good.
Very nice font.
Oh, yeah. I like Vidana myself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
What's your favourite font?
I do like Helvetica. It's with like a hipster edge, isn't it?
Yeah. It's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. But maybe if the episode was just, you give it participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the episodes which the Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. I was really close to a bronze because there's a lot of elements of this episode that I like, but just the overall package was just really boring and dry, and I don't want to watch it again. BT.
Fail.
Really?
I hated this one. Like, I started off okay, and even though there were some jokes in there I quite liked, it's the fact that it just couldn't be bothered finishing what it started. It had the pieces of its own plot there, and it just didn't put them together, because fuck effort. Why? You're watching this TV anyway, you'll do it, you drooling slot bags. I couldn't even think of the word there. I said slot bag. I didn't even know what I was going for. I was going for like slime ball, and I got stuck on another word because I can't talk today. I'm sorry to all the slot bags out. I know.
This episode is broken BT.
No, I was already broken. Now I'm just talking. Point is, it insults your intelligence by assuming that you'll just accept this plot line that it itself could not be bothered finishing to create. Again, that was not a sentence. God, I suck today.
And how about you, Lydia? What would you like to rank this thing?
I agree with everything you guys were saying, particularly BT, where you kind of say that it kind of has all the elements of being like, oh, let's explore this house. She's driven to this obsessiveness. And I think for me, it's going to be a participant meh. Simply because I think that, like you kind of said, it kind of ended quite lazily. And just with Homer kind of holding up his hands at the end and being like, writing's hard, I think that kind of just sums it up for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like it was the episode's own defense going, but this is hard. It's like, that's why you get paid.
And a weird, interesting looking visual of like, all the characters as like starfish in a truck and beer and hot dog and dancing donut ladies, but why?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? All right, and this will average out into being a dull participant. It'll be the third episode from season 20 that we've given a dull participant, and coincidentally enough, these are two other episodes that were not widescreen episodes from the HD era. They'll be joining Double Double Boy in Trouble, where Bart does like the Parent Trap thing. And also Dangerous Curves, where Marge and Homer tell a very confusingly timeline story about how they met Ned and Maude like 20 years ago or something. Real dreck in that pile. All right, let's move on to a nice episode. I think this is an episode that a lot of people will remember fondly. We are going to watch Season 11's The Last Tap Dance in Springfield. BT, what is this episode?
Tapper, tapper, tapper.
Oh my god, it's not a joke answer this time. You're actually saying what it was.
Tapper, 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 tapper.
All right, well.
Tapper, tapper.
Hopefully this episode will fix you, man.
Tapper.
All right, well, we're going to go watch that. We'll be back.
Tapper.
And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode, and this was Season 11, Episode 20, The Last Tap Dance in Springfield. First released in May of '08, it was directed by Nancy Kruse, written by Julie Thacker. In this episode, people should know this one. This is the one where Lisa gets tap dancing lessons, and eventually gets tap shoes programmed by Professor Frink. And in the B story, Bart and Milhouse spend a week at the mall. Hey, what do we think?
I really liked it. I think I've watched this episode so many times. But
Same.
I think I just, the same gags, like, I think it's just the way that Professor Frink is like, oh, the shoes are actually turned off. And then, like, and then Homer Simpson's like, nah, sorry, they're off. And then, like,
They're clearly in the arm position, just shoved in everyone's face. On closer inspection.
What a good time. And yeah, may as well, while we've mentioned it, play count. Have you seen this episode before, BT?
Oh my, yes. Ever so many times.
Yeah, there's a coincidence.
Yeah, by pure chance, not even knowing this was the next episode, this is where I'm ever so pissed came from.
Yeah, there we go. And I didn't even realize it. I thought, are you confusing it with Thrones of Game, our other podcast? No, it was from this one.
No one says I'm ever so pissed in Thrones of Game.
They might.
I'm Jon Snow and I'm ever so pissed. No, that doesn't happen.
I'd imagine Lena Headey would. But anyway, let's back to this podcast. Lydia, we'll start with you. For better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you from this episode?
Oh, a moment that stands out for me is that little homage to Shirley Temple. I love that little black and white segment with the cat's paws as it wipes its eyes. I love that. And
then the
apparently
cat gets up and tap dances. And
it's a jolly old time.
Do you have much affinity with Shirley Temple's work, who this episode seems to be heavily referencing?
Well, for this, I was like, I had to get the date right. So I know she did films in the 1930s.
Yeah.
And I think now she's a US ambassador and she doesn't actually like to use the name Shirley Temple. She goes by Mrs. Charles Black.
Yeah.
So she kind of separates us. And I think she told the producers to F off when they approached her about voicing it, which is a bit sad.
Well, it makes sense when you're really wanting to turn that life and, not be a part of it anymore. And there's even an alcoholic beverage. Well, it's not even alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's just a cup of sugar
I was about
named
to say,
after you.
I naturally just assumed Shirley Temple died of cocaine and Shirley Temple overdose, but apparently not. Apparently she's an ambassador. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
No, that's it. This is one of those things where I don't really know if The Simpsons are doing a loving parody or homage or anything here, because I am not at all familiar with this sort of
Tap
film.
classics.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not even Singing in the Rain.
No.
Shit's good.
One of the things that I've loved actually with long haul flights is being able to put on like one of those classic really slow paced movies to be able to fall asleep on a plane to.
Yeah.
So as enjoying them as cinema is sort of a bit beyond me.
Like X-Men Apocalypse, that's a snoozer.
Oh, wasn't it just? Working as an airline hostess, do you get that privilege at all to watch stuff while you're not working, or?
Well, recently, yeah, because we've only got about 3 passengers on the planes, which is great. On our break times, this is a bit naughty, but I've quit now. But we were using the first class seats to basically use our break time. So we were watching a lot of movies, yeah.
Let me expand on that question. Did you have any passengers complain to you personally, like you had programmed the entertainment and they were angry at you?
Wow, like, funny story. I was doing a flight to New York, and I don't do many, but we had this really funny Italian-American guy, and he was like, do you have any porn on here? And I was like... no, I'm sorry, sir, we don't. But yeah, like that was the only complaint we've had for the entertainment so far. I think otherwise it's pretty good.
Because I assume customers in the air were just as dumb as customers on the ground. I got blamed the other day because someone looked up the wrong website and came into my store expecting it to be like the store he'd looked up. It was like, you went to the wrong website. You should change the name. Okay, bye.
Oh, wow. But no, the standards of airline movies is like, it's funny like that he'd even ask if there's porn, because ADR versions of movies are like one of those things, the airplane version of like Big Lebowski. What is it?
Well, I mean,
French Man in the Alps.
No. Find a Man in the Alps.
Yeah,
one of my favorite censorings. No, remember I mentioned X-Men Apocalypse and they blur Olivia Munn's cleavage in that.
Yeah.
This like tiny cleavage window in her costume and they blurred it. It was hilarious.
Yeah, there was this one HBO series that I was watching on a plane once, and it was like a parody about cycling, and there were several like just full-on dick shots in it, and it was one of those things where it's like, oh, I have to turn this off. Like, this is really funny, and like it's got Will Forte in it. I love him, but Jesus Christ, like I don't want to be seen
as the passenger watching the dick movie.
No. So no, that's when I watched Gene Kelly is on a plane. Anyway.
Tangents!
BT, what stands out to you for better or worse from this episode?
Little Vicky is fucking hilarious.
Isn't she just?
Like, she's the worst, but damn it, it's funny. She has so many quotable lines out of this. Like, we already said, ever so pissed. Even just tappa, tappa, tappa when that was in my head.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And pulla, pulla, pulla.
Pulla, 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 of course.
She is filled with such great advice.
And it just, now this may hurt a lot. What am I saying, may?
Everyone line up for dimpling.
God, so many good lines. I'll get to more later. But yeah, I think Little Vicky is one of those one-off characters that just knocks it out of the park, is really quotable. You instantly hate her but want to see more of her.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the writer of this episode, Julie Thacker, this was all inspired from when she was getting her 5 daughters into dance lessons. 5 daughters.
Yep.
And coming up against, these types of teachers that she really hated, and also all the dance moms and stuff. And I think this episode does, like, interestingly shine a little bit of a light on that, like, way before any of those, like, reality shows that do.
Yeah, for sure. And I do kind of appreciate it didn't do too much of the dance moms. I feel like that at least would eventually become a very heavily tread territory. So despite the fact that would have been fairly original when this first came out, I like that that's not what it's about. It's about the teachers.
Yeah.
Or the teacher.
Yeah, and the kids kind of turn on Lisa as well, don't they? Like, Ralph's like, she hurts my eyes, and...
Oh.
Poor Lisa.
Fucking Ralph getting all high and mighty all of a sudden.
He became the star. He's good at something for a change.
Yeah, started out scared of his shoes, and now he's doing fucking triplets and polyrhythms on his tapping.
I don't think they call them poly. Well, maybe they do.
Yeah,
right in, dance enthusiasts.
He was doing some like 2/3 action.
Yeah, but is that the tap reference, or is that the music nerd reference, you music nerd?
I'm just a dumb music nerd. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons? How were the cartoony elements?
I thought it was really good. I like the mix between, like we said, like the sepia tone mixed with, I like just Professor Frank being mad and inventing these he's creating some kind of weapon of mass destruction, like behind the scenes. And yeah.
All starting with one of those weasel balls. Yep. What happened when it faded to black? What happened to poor Homer when he touched that thing?
I mean, thank God Homer's a, deity.
That's true.
No, there's plenty of wackiness in this one. They have a literal Acme trap. I mean, and I do like that, they let the lion out of the cage. It immediately goes for the cheese. You want to get a spare the lion? Would you? Get the spare lion, rather. Backup lion. There it is, in my own notes.
But yeah, as how much more cartoon wacky do you get than that with a basic Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner amalgam with fucking anvils to boot?
And even Wiggum being like, what if I can get that cheese where that anvil falls on me?
Oh, and the crusty eyes as well. Jesus.
Oh, about that.
It looks salty.
Salty. Yuck. Oh my God. And yeah, I do love the bullies taking advantage of him as well. Short little appearance of the bullies playlist I think we're working on today.
Yes.
But I definitely want to call a lot of attention to it's fiction within fiction, the movie The Tango de la Muerte. Because God, that's again full of great quotable lines and just wacky nonsense altogether. It's like it starts off with the whole, well, as your wise but alcoholic dance coach, I know your father is looking down on you somewhere and smiling. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite couple of lines is, you are now pregnant with my child. It is the mystery of the dance.
Yeah, I love that bit. Yes. And like Latino Milhouse just in the background being like, I should sugar my own churro or something. Brilliant.
We popped so hard for that joke.
Yeah.
I've seen this episode dozens and dozens of times, but that was still so
that one
unexpected.
just never clicked for some reason. I don't know.
Just the idea that he's going up to all these people ready to dance, and for no particular reason there is a person on a chair reading a book on the edge of a dance floor
about dancing. But I do like that he rejects each one by like a dramatic thrust of his hips. Like that's just how he communicates. Like that's a man. Nice.
He's like, not you, not you.
And totally the she's all that, you know, not another teen movie scene of...
Yeah, the glasses fly off, the hair comes down, the cleavage pops out, and it's just like, oh, wow, what a transformation.
But yeah, we can't talk about wackiness as well without one of my most favorite elements of this episode. Yeah, Barton Milhouse's little adventure.
Yes, because it reminded me of the Eight-Legged Freaks. Like, I was just like, oh, it'd be amazing to be trapped in a mall, and like, especially a sweet shop would be amazing. And I read that in the time of this episode, 2003, there seemed to be a trend in cinema where it would kind of focus on being trapped in a mall and the excitement of it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think that's why the writers were kind of inspired to do it. That's just what I read on Simpsons Wiki, which is obviously a really good source.
Yeah, of course.
And it was like kind of inconsequential as far as a B story goes, but I just really loved the cute wackiness of it. And like,
it's like a childhood fantasy, 100%.
Oh, definitely. And this is one of the rare montages where I was like, I loved every single joke in this. I wrote all of them down and then ended it with, fuck this rules. Like the flavor's gone and hey, no golf shoes. And the cookie dough going up Milhouse's nose. Like, yeah, the raft on the escalator, the bins down the hole. Like, they are having so goddamn much fun.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Like, God knows what they'll do on that camping trip because they are living their lives. It's, yeah.
That's their best lives.
In Nelson's words, getting pounded every day.
But even the lead into this, which was, I know, well, this is like my dad always says, and then Bart goes little thought bubble of like fashion, food, and shopping, the mall has it all. And then runs off like Mel. It's like, what? What does he say? Like a good little anti-wacky moment.
Well, this is what I love in the wackiness in this episode, because there is a lot of this absurdity, but all the jokes fucking land for me. Well, how about the heart of this episode? Did we feel the bumps?
I can't. It gets poured on so well when Lisa like walks up to Homer and Marge's like, I know I said I wanted to learn dance, but... And they're like, oh, yeah, so little dancer, a bright little star. What did you want to say before you said I wanted to learn dancing, but...
Yeah.
And then when she walks up, like, oh, God, what does that sound? The radiator? It's me. Oh.
Yeah, and there was a similar moment in the last episode where like Homer and Marge are just sitting there having coffee, enjoying themselves, and then Lisa pops up with a new venture, and I think it's nice. And the way Professor Freak just kind of takes her under his wing and is like, we will do this. It's like nerds sticking together. It's good.
Beautiful stuff.
Just like us Simpsons nerds, where good Simpsons nerds stick together.
Definitely.
Just like good waffles.
Simpsons nerds do. Lisa's whole, she's genuinely tried at this. She's just bad.
Yeah.
And like gets no extra attention whatsoever because that'd be communism.
Again, little Vicky just, I did tap my Morse code to the Allies to roll out the red carpet for the Reds. Fucking hell.
I know. So many good lines from her.
Yeah, what an amazing character. But yeah, again, to bring it back to the wackiness, like, of course the tap shoes thing is ridiculous, but I think they totally sell it at the end with the build-up and everything, and like, especially because you feel victorious for Lisa, and then the applause is making it worse. It's so good.
Yeah, she does that little wall run thing. That's cool.
Well, yeah, because this is sort of, as I was getting a bit, Jordan's anal corner about the whole thing, because it's like...
Jordan's anal corner.
Even if the tap shoes could like replicate the beat, basically, it wouldn't be instantaneous, and also it wouldn't do all the slides and extra flourishes that don't involve feet. I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty easy to counter that with just a simple "shut up." Like, are you having a good time? Yes.
And yeah, like you were saying, Lydia, before about Frink trying to make her feel better at the end. And I kind of wish they had more of Lisa and Frink being friends because, you know, they hang out a bit in the Mensa episode, and I feel like they've had a couple of interactions since then, but...
That's true. Yeah, they become part of like an elite club, don't they, with there's a few other intellects of Springfield, and they all kind of...
That's right. And, you know, Frink had tried being friends with Bart, you know, offered him the use of his rocket motorcycle, and that friendship never got explored.
Well, he's like Q, you know? He gives the neat gadgets, and then he goes away. You don't spend the entire movie with Bond and Q. Although I would watch that buddy cop movie. In fact, I'm writing that buddy cop movie now.
But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters you all know and love?
It's a wackier one, but yeah, I think integrity's on point.
I feel like so. I feel like it's one of those episodes where it starts off with a complete random storyline of Bart obviously going to camp, and then Homer's like crusty eyes, and then it just turns it on its head, and it turns out that Lisa is tap dancing with Shirley Temple, or Little Vicky.
Yeah.
No, it feels very classic. I love it.
Yeah, and I do actually really like the kind of... not misdirect, but the kind of, you know, she goes to see Tango to tell him, well, so that's the dance she wants to do, but then gets kind of railroaded into tap by the teacher. I like that kind of, you already sympathize with her because this is not what she wanted, but now she's in it anyway. And I really like that kind of misdirect of, it's going to be about, you know, salsa dance. Oh, wait, no, it's not.
Yeah, well, it's a similar thing like in that South Park episode where they go to see like the WWE and they get really excited about wrestling and they join the school wrestling and it's like the actual like, you know, Greco-Roman wrestling and what the fuck is this? So yeah, there is a bit of that as well. Like, yeah, the kid's seeing something cool in the movie, but the closest real world thing isn't.
But like story-wise, that would be the equivalent of, oh no, before you learn salsa, you have to start at tap. Tap is your fundamentals. And it's like, but it's not that. It's just little Vicky just being like, oh no, you're going to do what made me ever so famous. Do what I say. I actually also really like a bit where Marge's like, oh, I think she had her heart set on, and then little Vicky's like, don't live through your child. Oh, sorry. Like, backing off immediately is very Marge and being like, oh, I don't want to be that kind of parent. Sorry.
Yeah, even though like Marge and Homer were obviously laying it on very thick in their whole, you know, what were you saying before?
It was all from a place of love.
Yeah.
Yeah, Homer's like, give up for my girl. And everyone's like, whoa, yeah.
That's it. Encouraging her demise at the end. It's wonderful.
Loving proudness. I wrote it down specifically because it was a very interesting use of phrase.
But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Definitely yes.
Tapper, 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 I would.
Hell yeah, and episodes that we want to watch again, we like to think about what playlist they'd go in. So what are some other episodes that remind you of this one that would pair well with it?
Yeah, Simpsons starting off by watching TV with...
oh, yeah.
Cyborg Organizer.
Cyborganizer.
And I do like Homer's line of, I want to watch this before the network retools, and then he's like, how can I still be a single father? It's like, I got to it.
And this modeling agency.
Simpsons just go to the movies.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few good fun ones, you know.
The Mask of Zorro one, the glove slap.
Oh, yeah.
The mall, the Springfield Mall.
Yeah, sure.
So, like, pair this with the See the Angel episode and all that.
And I guess camp stories almost, but not.
Pair it with Camp Krusty, yeah.
Well, you know, it's like the old vitamin barn when you go to camp.
Oh, the old vitamin barn. Yeah, I think that's a good amount of playlist. So, Lydia, what would you like to change about this episode?
Well, I was looking and there isn't actually anything I disliked or thought came to mind of changing it. Oh, I don't know. What actually does happen to Bart and Milhouse at the end? Do they kind of just escape them all and...
Milhouse gets briefly attacked by a puma.
It's a lion.
Oh, a lion, right.
Yeah. It did look more like a mountain lion, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll kind of like a good close to that. I thought that'd be quite like whether or not they get found out or whether or not they do end up like jumping back on the bus with Nelson and they get pounded again and then he jumps off and he's like, oh yeah, been to camp.
They find out Nelson was staying there the whole time as well and then, hey.
I thought the store names for this episode was great as well with the, I think they had I Caramba for the opticians and...
That was very, very good.
That was so good. And then like Tommy Hill Climber, I thought that was very, very good.
Oh, I forgot one of my other favourite bits in the I Caramba bit is Bart forced a tantrum to get out of shopping with Marge so he can then double back to the optometrist to fuck with Homer.
Yeah.
I-8-P-P. BT, what would you like to change?
Ooh, I don't think I really want to change anything because nothing really stuck out to me as being a problem or being really even lagging. A lot of this kind of goes through very briskly and is a lot of fun. And I'm okay with Bart's story not really having a conclusion either. It's just like This is his wacky adventure, and it's over now.
Yeah. I think technically you could make this episode better by doing not such a wacky robotic thing with the tap shoes, but, that's me being like, I don't actually care because that was a whole lot of fun. But, if I'm pulling The Simpsons up on shit that I usually do, I'll remain consistent. But just know that, in this example, I think I nailed it.
Well, it's always okay if you're having fun.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's important to have fun. Guest stars of this episode. Did anyone guess who was playing the role of the Lions?
Of the Lions?
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to guess Frank Welker because I always will.
It was Frank Welker!
Hey! Not Meryl Streep being Frank Welker?
She could probably do it.
I know she could.
All right, we're here. Lydia, do you have any other notes about this episode, bits you want to mention before we rank this thing?
I do quite like the blackboard gag, and it weirdly relates to the episode where it says, "I will not dance on anyone's grave."
Oh, especially Tango della Muerte, dance of murder? Yeah? I don't know.
But yeah, otherwise, I couldn't think of anything particular, no.
All right, how about you, BT? Any other notes?
Oh my, I have a bunch. Like Marge's line of, every brand has a different idea of husky. It's like, that's clothing for you.
Oh, and I did forget to mention in that moment where Bart is readying the I really do love this. Counting down to tantrum in 10, 9, remembering dead cat for real tears ahead. Mm-hmm. That was so good. And then, such a good accent as well. Oh, God, now I can't forget the cat.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Snowball 1.
Mm-hmm. Homer mentions that Val Kilmer is his favorite door. I thought it was a very neat little reference.
To?
The Doors movie that starring Val Kilmer. Yeah, see, you know all about the music nerd, but you don't know about the made-for-TV movies.
I never saw that one. I can't imagine it was good.
I didn't either. I just know it exists.
Fair enough.
Yeah. What us cool guys do.
Well, yeah, he could be a favorite door, but I don't think he'll be ever anyone's favorite Batman.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah, more Tango della Muerte. Where he died, I shall live in his apartment.
Now that I've got my 7-foot reattached.
Just tells so much with giving so little. A little back and forth. It's like, oh, hi, little Vicky. Oh, just call me Vicky. Oh, okay, Vicky. Little Vicky. But, yep. Yep. Just let you know what kind of person she is in a very quick dialogue setting. I like when they're all, we'd have to listen to annoying camp songs. If you're happy and you know it, shop at Stan's. We have discounts on all major brands. Brought to you by Stan's. Yeah, when Lisa asks little Vicky for help, she's like, we seem to be falling a lot. Try not doing that. That's a smile, not an upside-down frown.
Oh, God, she's the best worst.
Yeah, exactly. Now, remember, the kids, the important thing is to just dance flawlessly. Yep, more best worst. I do like when they're running away from the line, it just says exit and then coming soon.
Again, the cartooniness of this chase scene as well. That, it may as well have been, the painted on fucking railroad tunnel. My final note is one that I really, really love, which is Lisa's all, I guess I'll never be a Broadway baby. And Homer as well, maybe you get to write a depressing play that gets played on Broadway. It can be about people coming to terms with things, which is my favorite way of explaining any non-fun movie. Yeah.
It's about people coming to terms with things.
Oh, God. Lisa failing at the end playlist, unfortunately.
No, but it's real. She just isn't good at something. That's fine. You can not be good at things.
Yeah. That's why I love that episode of Community of Jeff studying ceramic. And it's just, you'll be good at some things, but bad at others. And that's okay. And my final notes, I love Bart's hustling side as well. Just get me a deck of cards and I'll win what I need in camp. Oh, Homer's got an amazing line. Yoko Ono, she ruined the Plastic Ono band. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at all the different dances you can do, and I love Rich Texan leading the square dances, just shouting random barnyard things to do. And
everyone's confused. Square dancing is the worst.
Milhouse's grandmother has skin like a basketball. What do you reckon this means? In dimples or color or the fact that it's got black curvy stripes all over it too?
I think yes. To all.
And very, very bouncy. Her face
has a big tattoo sleeve of Spalding. And my final note is I love Frank singing Kung Fu Fighting. All right, it's time to rank this thing. PT, your turn to go first.
I'm going to go with a solid silver. I'm not quite into the gold territory because it's not, those amazing Simpsons episodes that tie into the heart and the just amazing hilarity. But it's a solid time. I got some laughs, had a good roller coaster run through the shopping mall. And silver sounds good to me.
How about you, Lydia?
Yeah, I think similarly. I think only because I couldn't really find anything to say against it, I would give it a gold. Excellent, because I've watched it loads of times and I still have a little giggle, which is nice. Mm-hmm.
I'm going cubic.
Wow.
And I know this is very rare. And look, this isn't, again, to say that this is a perfect episode, because there are a handful of jokes that kind of fell flat for me. But, like, this is an example of The Simpsons in the teens era doing it right for me.
And all the way up to cubic?
All the way up to cubic. Yeah,
Okay.
it's, again, this isn't a cubic story, but holy hell, the jokes are... And you know what? Actually, it is a cubic story as well. Like, they set up the mall at the beginning, and they followed that through with Bart's story and with branching off it. Like, I think it's quite eloquent, even though it's, very silly.
Okay.
All right, and that will be a gold by way of split decision. This will be joining other golds by split decision across the series, including Bart versus Thanksgiving, where Bart took on Thanksgiving. The Front, where Abe rode an Itchy and Scratchy, Homer goes to college, Bart's Girlfriend, starring...
Patrick Swayze?
And My Sister, My Sitter, where Lisa looks after Bart. Bad babysitting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and also She of Little Faith, which was when Lisa becomes a Buddhist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ellen gave a cubic for that one. Good for her. All right, and this will be the time where we go to our classic era episode now. And we are going to go to Season 8's The Twisted World of Marge Simpson. BT, what is this episode?
Okay, so basically it's a mix between The Cell and Inception. We go into Marge's mind and get to see what really makes her tick, and it gets dark. It gets real dark.
Oh my goodness, especially the scene with the horse. Worse than the Godfather scene with the horse, the Cell scene with the horse. Anyway, we're going to go watch that and we'll be back.
Came up with a movie playlist of horse murder.
And we are back, and we just watched our classic and final episode of the evening. This was Season 8, Episode 11, The Twisted World of Marge Simpson. First released in January of 1997, it was directed by Chuck Sheets.
He certainly does.
And written by Jennifer Crittenden. In this episode, this is the one where Marge Simpson starts a pretzel franchise. What do we think?
Absolutely amazing. Love it.
This was fun.
Good time was had by all.
Oh my goodness. Like, it's such a nice change to get a great teens episode. And then, yeah, we're very spoiled today, I think.
Well, we had to endure that first one.
And some had to endure it harder than others. But Lydia, so I send my guests, a short list of classic episodes to pick from, and the list is getting very short these days as we're circling our last year of the podcast. And out of all the episodes, you picked this one. Why is that?
I just love this one because it involves my favourite underrated character, Fat Tony. I love him. And I just think that I love the way Marge kind of stands up to the Stepford Wives of Springfield, and and it kind of shows like a nice little character development. Even though they're like short little episodes, I think she comes a long way within such a short period of time.
No, absolutely. And I think, the so-called Stepford Wives of Springfield get a moment to shine as well, which is nice because a lot of these women are sort of defined by the characters that they're with. It's nice seeing them out on their own.
Definitely. Yeah, the way they call her, yep.
But do you have much history with this episode in particular?
Not really. I think I've watched it when I was younger, but I think only watching it now, I kind of see it through the eyes of my mum. And she's the kind of woman that every Thursday, her and her friends, particularly now, have a Zoom chat and they discuss business ventures they could go into. She's been looking into doggy bow ties, so that's
Always a promising industry.
Absolutely. Evergreen. Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, when everything else is going to shit, I think a doggy bow tie market will...
I'm not going to lie,
remain strong.
it was kind of a rough day for me today, and if I could see a dog wearing a bow tie, that would perk me right up.
Well, we're actually dog sitting Roxy on the weekend, so...
Get that dog a bow tie.
I'll send you one over.
Oh, I hope so. Roxy had looked so dignified.
Oh.
Roxy's actually been on this podcast before. Remember that episode with Maddie and we had her in here and she just was the most anxious dog ever?
Yeah. I still wonder if a soundproof room freaks the fuck out of a dog because they've, such sensitive hearing to not be able to hear properly must just weird them right the hell out. Because Bella does fine in here.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know. I'm confused.
And Roxy is a giant poodle that may as well be a llama.
It's a big dog. Big poodle.
Anyway, back to this. God, I'm good at tangents today. So we'll start with you, Lydia. For better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you from this episode?
A moment that stands out for me, I love it when Homer kind of walks into Moe's bathroom and Fat Tony's in there and he's like, you need to give me the money. And then Homer just kind of like flips it totally on Fat Tony's head and he just kind of makes Fat Tony feel awful for...
You mean the mob only did me a favour to get something in return? Oh,
Yeah.
Fat Tony. I will say good day to you, sir.
I said good day. Fat Tony realizing he's been played. Oh, you're right. He is such an amazing character. And even though, he is a total caricature, I think Fat Tony in this series just stands out. And this is a great episode for him to shine.
Definitely. I think him talking about his wife obviously bossing him about and wanting the pretzel money and the whole key in the car ignition. Yeah.
Is there a button or release for these keys?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It's hard to play a character who's meant to be like intimidating to like a murderous degree, but still have them have funny moments.
Hey, man, even murderers got to get up and put their pants on one leg at a time and,
Miss that one leg.
Yeah, and just deal with, we're out of milk. Why did you put the empty carton back in,
Yeah.
Human moments still happen to monsters.
He is still people. How about you, BT? What stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
So I really like the kind of what I feel are subtle jabs at society in general. So like things like the Americanization or the Westernization of international foods with Fleeta Peter, who's just all like, what's falafel? Oh, crunch patty.
What's tahini? Flavor sauce.
Yeah, it's like, so we'll be selling, can't remember what the term is, when she switches it to specialty foods.
Yeah.
We'll be switching ethnic specialty foods. Try a Ben Franklin.
Yeah. And I love he's not just saying nonsense. He's, what's in this? It's tabbouleh and reshmi kebab. And it's like, those are things.
Yeah. But also like the kind of critique on the way a lot of companies will project their profits, like Disco Stew going, do you know Disco record sales were up 400% in 1976? If these trends continue. It's like, anytime they talk about trends continuing in anything, you're like, if they continue, which they never do, because that's not how things work.
Yeah.
And what I assume is a little jab at customers in general for when all the nuclear power plant employees are lined up and they're like, when he's like, let's see, I'll have one pretzel. It's like, I'm sure we've all been in like a long line at McDonald's and there's like someone at the front. It's like, you've been standing there for 10 minutes. How do you not already know what you want?
I can imagine you doing that at the liquor store though. Like, because your equivalent of that is wine. And it's like, what'll I have here? It's just like, it's all wines. There was no difference between any of those pretzels as with the wine. Yeah. I love everything about the intro sequence with the franchise expo because I think this is a way for The Simpsons to essentially do one of these sketch shows that so often episodes open up with, but it's all related to the story. It's all inherent. Everything's making a point. And they get to have a nice little buffet of little jokes and jabs at these sort of businesses.
Yeah, and it's all related to Marge's mood. I'd like the, did you know 40% of all pitches in America are crooked? Well, who's going to fix them? Your friends? Your neighbors? Those fat cats over in Washington? Good luck.
What if I don't need it? Now who's being naive?
Just for frame nudging.
I love the commonly asked questions in that. Who are you and why are you here? Did you have any favorite moments from the expo, the franchise expo?
Yeah, I agree. I love the whole frame nudging segment and the way Disco Stew's shoes. I mean, them just floating and he just doesn't care, bless him.
I can't get them out of there.
Oh, God. How long have they been there?
Since 1976.
Dear God. Play count. Have you seen this episode before?
Hundreds of times, yes.
Yeah, how about you, BT?
My viewership is up 400%.
Yeah, this is still such a classic, even, in season 8. This is, oh my God. I had such fun watching this episode, but it was a pretty wacky episode. What were some of our favorite wacky moments?
I think if we're going to talk wacky, we have to talk about the ending, the mafia war against the Yakuza.
Yes.
We'll kill you 5 times before you hit the ground.
And it's like, what's this guy going to do? And he's just standing there in a white suit looking like...
You knew it's going to be good.
This is one of those moments like when Bart and Lisa missed out on watching the episode where Scratchy got itchy, where I'm like, oh, fuck it, Simpsons. I know it's the joke, but I really want to know what happened there.
You have to go from the sound effects, man. It sounds like he really well kicked several people.
Yeah, he floated like in the Matrix when they're doing the wire shit. I know he did.
Speaking of questions, when Abe shows up and is like, he's just in his underwear, he's like, I had that dream again. What is this story? Tell me more.
And the implication that he politely moved aside and went elsewhere when the mafia showed up.
Well, I mean, he had his answer.
Yeah, true.
And just the whole crime montage. I especially like the Girl Scout cookies being let out at the state line.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, and taking out the little pizza high chair as well,
Yeah.
like when they removed that was really good. Yeah.
I know they've done some sickening things, but taking those little pizza table things out of the pizza, kicking over poor Molman's hot dog stand.
Oh,
This is a pretzel town.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Was this a reference to anything? It felt very Scorsese mafia movie-ish.
I think just every mafia movie ever. I'm kind of a little bit surprised that, when he does take that little support thing out of the pizza box and squashes it and those people get splashed, they don't kind of go into the poses from the death scene from The Godfather.
All right.
Like, it feels visually like it's that, but the poses were not right. Fuck, I cannot talk today.
That's okay.
Them
We're almost
not
at the
pose
end.
good. Me words well.
Excellent contribution to the podcast, my man.
Tapper, tapper, tapper.
How about you, Lydia? Any other cartoony moments stand out to you?
Oh, I do agree that gangster montage was amazing. I think,
Yeah, all the mafia
No, sorry.
stuff is about as wacky as it got, right?
Oh, no, I do like the one where the guy's setting up the instructional video and is like, sets the camera up, walks down to his desk, sits down, pretends to be doing something else.
Oh, hello
there.
oh yeah, when Homer goes to the funeral and then his advisor's also there. Same car accident.
Same car. And Frank Ormond was played by Jack Lemmon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, who the Simpsons would reference numerous times with the character of Gil, who's sort of loosely based on Jack Lemmon's character from Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, that was interesting. So I remember thinking that the guy in this one, he was like a successful Gil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
But he had some of that weird, like, Jack Lemony cadence that they absolutely wrote towards, just like it was like the pretzel fever that keeps now let's get started. It's just such an odd pacing to his line deliveries.
Well, even, his physicality in that, it's almost like he's played on a loop when he's laughing.
Yeah. And that whole instructional video as well. It's just, remember to check for millipedes. Oh, yeah, and his whole, like, spiel trying to convince Marge to sign up as well. Like, wherever a mother doesn't know what to feed their baby.
Wherever nacho penetration is not quite complete, you'll be there.
Oh, he was great. Absolutely wonderful. And, of course, Joe Mantegna playing Fat Tony. And that does it for guest stars. But how about the heart of this episode? Did we feel the bumps?
Definitely. It's just when Marge looks really defeated at the kitchen table and she's saying, if you're nothing special, why kid yourself? And
Woof.
Yeah. Aim low. Aim so low, no one will care if you succeed. If anyone wants butter, it's under my face.
Under my face. And I love Homer's contribution here. And, so many episodes, Homer sort of takes the focus and, we've said it sort of becomes the Homer show at times, but this was him genuinely trying to help but doing a fucking bad job of it.
Yeah, this is a good example of, even though Homer is like the linchpin that propels the final act of this episode, it doesn't become focused on him. He's just the thing that moves it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a really touching moment that kind of depicts that is when Marge obviously gets the phone call for 300 pretzels and he's laying there with his eyes open, smiling. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything's going to be all right. And then even when she how could you do this to someone you love? And how could I not? And
yeah, I do really like the heart moment at the end where he's like, I'm really sorry I fucked everything up. And she's like, I don't hate you for failing. I love you for trying. It's like, that's beautiful. Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, supportive Homer, this is a great hat for him. And speaking of great hats, I love that he takes his pretzel safety inspecting job way more seriously than his job as a nuclear safety
These
inspector.
are pretzels, man.
I love Homer in this episode. And the family as well, they're really rallying behind Marge too.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah, and putting on their hairnets, ready for Lenny.
But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we all know and love?
Definitely. I think it really reminded me of season 7's. It's called Scenes from the Class Struggle in Springfield.
Yeah.
It's just kind of Marge getting through that struggle of not getting into the patriarchal kind of like womanhood, sisterhood, and she's kind of saying, nah, my family beats all of that. I'm going to sell my pretzels, pay the mafia, and get on with it.
No, absolutely. And it's sort of in these after season 4 episodes, I should say, where they are making an active effort to include Marge into more storylines. And it feels like, they'd finally hit their stride with it here. But
Yeah, so few Marge episodes, but this is definitely a very good one.
yeah, absolutely. But other characters that, I think everyone is pretty much on point here.
Yeah, another one where I don't have anything in particular wrong, but does that make it perfect? We'll find out.
Oh, my goodness. How tantalizing for the
Almost
ranking.
as tantalizing as a salty pretzel.
I do like a good pretzel.
Who doesn't? You used to have Pretzel World back in the day. They were good.
Oh, yeah, but they'd make, like, those fucked up, like, candy pretzels. Like, just cover that shit in liquid sugar and, like, crushed up Oreos and stuff.
I said good.
Yeah.
I like a good cinnamon pretzel, though. The nice soft ones, they're good.
Yeah.
Like, going to the Bavarian and just, getting a good old salted German pretzel with butter and, just really pumping up the old sodium, But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Yes.
Indeedly.
Hell yeah. Like, I wasn't ready for how much I enjoyed this one on this watch. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself to the ranking, but before we get to there, we asked a bunch more questions, like what playlist would we put this episode in?
Oh, I think it'll have to go under the whole mafia, mob, like get them involved, the underbelly of crime of Springfield as well. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Actually, when Disney released the 4.3 cuts of The Simpsons, the first episode I watched was Bart the Murderer.
Nice.
And holy fuck, what a great episode. And that was, Fat Tony's introduction. Oh.
Yep. I'm going to say a playlist of The Simpsons garage being turned into various things. So, when Bart, it's a classroom for Bart, here it's a little office. I'm sure it's been other examples I can't think of right now.
An angel museum.
See the angel next to the rakes.
Oh, leaping out of the air from an explosion playlist.
Yes.
What are they doing under my car?
Well, there's some barnacles on the hull, and the deck was wet. And look, I'm just going to leap into the air. I suggest you do the same.
Right. BT, what would you like to change about this episode?
I am curious if there's another out on this one, because it is technically, exit by Wacky. That's not a bad thing. It's just merely surely their problems are not going away just because there's a mob war on their front lawn. Once that mob war is over, someone is still angry.
Well, I do wonder where the 5 women went.
I guess they just went back to their Fleet-O-Peter truck and watched.
Yeah.
Because, I can accept that, even though we don't reset to 0, you can imagine Marge has now just gone in over her head so much that she's given up the pretzel game.
Yeah.
But, just because Fat Tony has fought the Yakuza does not mean he has forgiven your debts.
How about you, Lydia? What would you like to change about this episode?
I don't think I would change anything, to be honest. Nothing. No.
No, I am definitely nowhere near qualified to improve upon their script. I was so surprised with this one on this watch through. I really like this. Oh my God, I gotta shut up because I'm not ranking it yet. There are more things to talk about. Lydia, do you have any other notes?
I just like the way that Marge kind of goes from being a wet blanket, not able to make a decision. She's kind of pondering like, oh, they've gone after the one business that I was considering like buying into. And it just goes into her being like, we're going to make pretzels. And it's just that whole development where she struggles to stand up against like some housewives, but when it's the mafia, she has no problem.
Stakes just weren't high enough for her. Yeah. But no, I do like how she gets into it. It's a very natural development of her character. It's not a betrayal of the woman we see at the beginning who's all, oh, maybe we should play it safe with our investments, and then he gets kicked out. But she naturally graduates towards being a part of the Pretzel Wagon family. It's not something she just dashes into for the sake of the story. So I like that.
And do you have any other notes, BT?
I have plenty. You'll get your pancakes in the mail. So when are the pancakes showing up?
It's one of those where it was a good line on its own, and then the callback made it 5 times better.
Yeah. The subtitle is the franchise expo, where all your non-sexual dreams come true. That's all good. Like when they have the phony ticker tape parade to throw out flyers, and it's just "Welcome home, space girl."
What I realized about this was This was the instruction before
Yeah.
she got the instruction to make pretzels.
I only really noticed that on this watch through as well, yeah.
I love bad instructional videos.
Just the cadence of when they're at the ballpark and everyone's about to eat their pretzel and they all throw
Yeah.
it in Miss Mitchell's and here come the pretzels. Is every time I see a pretzel, that is just the cadence in my head from now on.
Oh, but poor Marge. She thought she had such a solid business strategy here. And something similar to this, and I think I might have actually told this story in the podcast before, but fuck it. I've made 400 hours of this. I'm bound to repeat myself occasionally.
Only fair.
Occasionally at my high school, all the students would be given like some product testing and like for candy or chips or things like that. It'd only be like ever like a small bag of crisps or, you know, a single chocolate bar. And we'd be given them in like our roll call like class and sort of just asked to fill out a quick question and answer sheet and, you know, the candy is its own reward. Anyway, one particular day, every student got given like this 12-pack of like little chocolate cakes. Like it would have been like, I don't know, about 2-3 inches. Like they were kind of sizable and it was a pretty big pack. Like... And they were disgusting. Like, I don't know how you screw up chocolate so bad, but no one liked them. Recess was the biggest food fight I have ever been privileged enough to be a part of. Uniforms, and we had like white shirts as well. Uniforms covered in chocolate cake. And the teachers, like, it was just anarchy. No teacher could control it. And any who dared step on the quad got covered in cake. So they would just, like, I guess let them just run out of steam and cake.
Little did you know, that was the plan all along. It was actually from like a bleach company who wanted everyone to wash their uniforms.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's marketing, baby.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, yeah, it was a different kind of Hunger Games. Let's get started. So anyway, that was a treasured memory from high school that, yeah, looking out after recess and it's like, yeah, one of those like, I don't know, war movies after the big battles.
Yeah.
Wow, what have we done here today?
Millions would die, but not the thing they died for. I like how the mob advertised in the church bulletin. And also Fat Tony's line of, you have 24 hours, and to prove we're serious, you have 12 hours.
I think the background looks gorgeous in this scene. That beautiful pink to orange gradient. Lovely.
The desperation of being in the desert. And finally, Homer's final line of, I saw you try to cram one more salty treat into America's already bloated snack hole. How could I not help you? Yeah, it's a beautiful moment.
Oh, wonderful, Homer. Now, I'm just going to take a moment to finish compiling my notes, but BT, I need you to ask Lydia what is obviously the most important question we will ask.
Yeah, so speaking of snack holes, we have a question for our first-time guests on this show, and that is, if you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be on that sandwich? Now, if that question is too hard, because it is the hardest question you will ever be asked, the simple follow-up is, what's the best sandwich?
Okay, I'll start with the best sandwich because that's probably an easier one to answer. Yep. I'm pretty basic and I like a good tuna, mayo and cucumber.
Okay.
Very popular in England, yeah.
I think that's the first entry for tuna on the sandwich index.
Yeah, fishy. Yeah, don't smell my breath.
You don't tell me what to do.
No, that's a good refreshing sandwich.
Yeah, that's not too heavy. That's like your nice little middle of the day refresher sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cucumber offers some kind of hydration as well, so it's multifunctional. I like that.
Yeah.
I think
you have the healthiest entry we have. As opposed to like, what of ham?
Yeah. Someone who just wanted a ham sandwich with ham for bread.
Yeah. I did see a good example of a cheese sandwich as a meme the other day, which was just bread between 2 slices of halloumi.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm both disgusted and interested. Continue.
Hell yes. All right. And for my final notes, the Investor Gals, what were they called?
Investorettes, wasn't it, I think?
I think it was Investorettes, yeah.
They are sponsoring a Mexican wrestler named El Bombastico. I would like to see some of his matches as a Lucha Libre fan. I love any reference in shows that make reference to the Go-Go 90s. I remember once I was watching an old episode of Power Rangers and someone was wearing a very cool shirt and Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, goes, oh my God, it's so 90s.
The decade that we're in. What?
Yeah. I know. No one's like, oh, that is so 2010s last year.
No,
anyway.
I mean, I have seen people walk past a garbage fire and go, so 2020. Swish.
Word. Homer just missing his mouth completely and getting a hot dog straight in the eye.
I do like his just background animation of just recovering from that as well. There's a few little moments I noticed, like when Maggie puts her hairnet completely over her head in the next scene that Lisa's kind of fixing the hairnet for her.
Yeah.
Just little details.
Oh. And I love the joke. It's not bad, and it's not bread. Oh, fucking hell, Jack Lemmon kills me in this episode. Love that Burns was third in line for the pretzels as well. Yeah. Even he gets excited over a food truck.
The man knows a good snack.
It's like, we still get an ice cream van in our neighborhood.
I know.
And
it's like, I couldn't be bothered getting my wallet and running out there. However, I want to.
Yeah. Like, I really don't want ice cream, but just hearing dun, 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 ice cream.
And the fact that I used to live on like a main road when I was a kid, so we never got ice cream trucks.
Oh, right.
I want to recapture some, youth I never got.
Oh, so full on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we get to meet all of Cletus's children.
Finally, yes. God,
Yeah,
Brittany, yeah.
Yeah, we only get like first time for like 1 or 2 maybe characters max in an episode.
Yep.
We got like 30 in this one.
More importantly, it was a Cletus joke that wasn't meth or incest.
Yeah.
Remember when they used to do those? I do.
Well, like so many Cletus jokes later on are trying to just do this. He has lots of kids, but failing at it. This was, and it was doing a list of things and it was still funny. And also 2 of his kids were Jordan and Phil. So that's great for our regular panelists, Jordan and Phil.
Jordan, Phil. Brittany. Oh, we both went for Brittany after that. Interesting.
Interesting. Oh, and here's another funny high school story. He also mentions one of his kids' his name is Rumor. When I was like 14 or 15 or something, I was briefly dating a girl whose name was Rumor.
What?
And she literally went to another school, and none of my fucking friends believed me.
She was fucking with you.
But no, it's a common name in certain
No,
parts
it's
of the
not.
world. But it just so happens in English it means rumor.
Sure.
Anyway, and that's all my notes. Time to rank this thing. Lydia, it is your turn to go first.
Well, I love this episode. I would not fault anything, so I think that means that it's going to be a cubic zirconia.
Woo! Essential episode.
Definitely.
Well, it makes sense for the one you picked today. So, I mean, how was it on this critical watch for you? Watching the episodes for the podcast versus watching them in,
The pure enjoyment.
Yes.
It's just a different eye.
Definitely. Yeah, I think when you watch any episode of The Simpsons, you're like, oh, it's a bit of fun. But I think, like you said, once you watch it with a critical eye in mind, you start to pick up on the little mannerisms and the characters and you think, yeah, this is worthy of being critiqued.
Yeah. And I'm going cubic as well. I was so surprised with this watch. And I don't know, maybe I was riding the high from the last one that I was also surprised to give a cubic. I had a really good time, and it's great seeing Marge in a leading role, and I think this episode does a lot to push the series in the day that it could have easily, and sometimes did, rest on its laurels.
Mm-hmm.
Essential.
I'm on the gold cubic border, and I'm currently thinking I'm going to sluice down to gold. It's one of those ones where, hey, nothing's really wrong here, and it's a great episode. Gold is a good ranking. Something about that just isn't quite kicking into that higher echelon, even though this is a great Marge-focused episode, and there aren't terribly many of those. So yeah, I'm going to sit comfortably on a gold, I think, unless I want to call up Jordan and correct myself.
He's always here at 3 a.m. in the morning when we want to.
Yeah.
All right.
Whether he wants to be or not.
Well, that'll be a dull cubic zirconia, and this will be... Oh, there's quite a few of them. 1, 2, 3. This will be the 7th episode from Season 8 to be called a dull cubic. It'll be joining Bart After Dark, the Maison Derriere, a Milhouse Divided, where Kirk and Luann split up, Lisa's Date with Density, which you also sluiced down to a gold on.
It's tough being right.
Oh, it's such a good episode. Oh, Homer versus the 18th Amendment, which I almost disemboweled Danny for giving a gold. Also in Marge We Trust, which is the Listen Lady, and the Simpsons spin-off Showcase. All right. Well, look, Lydia, thank you so much for doing the podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been really good.
Now, if people want to check out more of your work, where are you? What are you doing? How'd you get here?
Well, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Simpsons Theory, and there we kind of post up mini theories, mini little skits, and it's a really good device for us to really show our audiences what we're doing. And then our official YouTube channel is at The Simpsons Theory, and every single week we put out new theories, fandoms, and collaborations with other Simpsons lovers.
Oh, cool. That'd be really interesting. But yeah, also been really enjoying your channel, especially the recent one, Maud, is she evil or not?
Yeah, we saw...
I was like, what are you possibly... It's Maud. And I'm like, oh my God.
Think about her in this one, man. She's more of a background character, but she's kind of a bitch.
Oh yeah, she throws in some punches.
Yeah, I think you did use this episode to illustrate a couple of Maud flaws.
Yes, definitely. I think it was her whole teaming up with Helen Lovejoy and how she is quite manipulative, and she's one of the front runners of really making Marge feel a bit like shit, which is, poor Marge.
Yeah. But like I said at the top, it's a good bit of fun, and always love chatting with people who are passionate about Simpsons and making Simpsons content.
No, you too. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. And BT, our other podcast.
Our other podcast is Thrones of Game, the Game of Thrones podcast that dares to watch the series backwards. So I've already seen the entire show, but Elliot Jay O'Neill had not seen a single episode until we started watching in reverse order. Gives us a unique perspective. We can now pinpoint exactly where Game of Thrones went wrong, and it is not season 7 and 8 like most people think. So when was it really? Well, you'll just have to listen and find out.
And also, by the time this episode comes out, we would have launched our new podcast series, Pulp Fury Radio. Podcast anthology series where in each episode we're tackling a different genre, doing old school radio play aesthetics with modern storytelling. Mm-hmm. And you wrote them.
Yep. And we both directed them and you produced them.
Yep, and the first one that's coming out that should be in the feeds by now is It Came From the Bottom of the Ocean, but also from space.
Yeah, a bit of sci-fi horror B-grade movie madness for you in podcast form.
Wow. So who are you going to be? Do you bring on people? Is it 2 of you? What do you do for that?
I know we hired a bunch of actors, as many vocal talent as we could find, and it's just various scripts. They're all different. So one's, noir detective, one's like a murder mystery, is, like I said, sci-fi horror. So just anything I feel like writing that's also a bit weird, because that's what I like writing.
Amazing, yes.
And one of them's also the one comedy that we've got in the mix as well is asking a simple question, what happened to the D students of Hogwarts? Where did they go? You get this degree in magic that you can't use in the Muggle world, so what do you do when you weren't good at it?
It bothers me so much. It doesn't make sense. Why did they study if the best you can do is go study at the Ministry of Magic? Doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Why did Harry become an Auror? It's bizarre. He should have been professor or...
But even then, education is the only thing you can go into. Yeah. That's the most exciting career.
Exactly.
Yeah, the people who own shops in Diagon Alley, they're not going anywhere.
Yep.
They've been there for thousands of years, and they'll be the first to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Pulp Fury Radio, check that out on anywhere you get your podcast, pulpfuryradio.com. And yeah, look, that about does it for the Simpsons Index for this week. Again, thank you so much, Lydia.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been lovely.
BT, thank you as always.
No, ahoy.
And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house!
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsons Index on Twitter or Instagram. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode, so we'll catch you next week.